When I start to set my overall color, I create an adjustment curve right above my hue set and right below my contrast curve. So Option Command M to get a curve. Let's hit return, and let's start bending these colors around to see what kind of a look we can set. Let's go to this blue right here, and let's add some yellow into the image. And let's balance that off with adding a little bit of magenta into there. And then let's balance that off by pulling some cyan into it. And the idea here is to create as rich skin tones as possible by building a really strong base. And what I mean by strong base is just an image with really strong, rich tones. You can create any kind of a look that you want. You can really push the contrast on it. You can, lift blue up into the shadows. You can just really crank these lines. But by starting yourself off with a really strong base there, you'll always ensure that you'll have a rich looking image regardless of where you take it with contrast and where you take it with color. So by going back and forth in between all of these lines here, you want to create a balance, a nice rich balance of color. And for every move that you make, you want to counter it with another move. So we added that green up in there, and you could see in these mid-tone areas, the image starts looking pretty green. So let's go up to the red here, and let's, using the arrow key, balance that off a little bit. And then that starts to get a little too red looking. So let's go down to the blue, and let's add a little bit more yellow into the dense areas. And it really is just a give and take. It's just putting a little in, taking a little out, adding a little in the other line. Again, let's pull the saturation down a little bit more. And let's just really bounce back and forth between all of our adjustment curves. And since we added all of that color density into it, maybe we should lessen the contrast on this top line here. So let's just move up a couple points. And by lessening that contrast there, we can add even more color into the denser areas. And that'll enable us to get much richer, more vibrant prints. Also, one thing you want to look out for, let's zoom right into this area in here. You want to watch out for gray spots where images start to gray in the shadows. And you can counter that by adding a little bit more color into those areas, usually red and yellow. So let's pull down a little bit, and let's go to the yellow. Let's pull down a little bit on that there. Okay. A really great way to get familiar with looks and styles are plugins that you can buy and load into your filters. They come with all kinds of looks from the history of printing. These automated looks can give inspiration or clarity on what you need to do concerning a client's direction for color. You want your prints to also have a strong undercolor as well. An undercolor is a strong black that holds the more vibrant colors together to ensure good prints and ensure the potential of each color to be realized in print. Without a strong undercolor to hold the color together, your prints will be washed out and muddy feeling, lacking in detail. There are so many variables in getting color right, and I will forever be a student of color printing. Let's try a selective color now, and let's see what happens when we play with individual channels. So Option Command V will bring up our selective color, and we're going to put that right above our contrast there. And now the selective color means exactly that. You're selecting a color and you're tweaking that. So we have all of our colors here, and you could pull cyan, which pulls the cyan out of the red areas. So we could see how, take a look at this sort of like this triangle feel right here. Just concentrate there as I pull this up and down. So adding cyan, it kind of really muddies up and greens that area. And by pulling it down, it makes it more red. But it also, when you pull too much cyan out, the cyan's a darker color. And you can see how this color starts to look what we call thin and weak. And it's the colors like that that aren't going to translate too well into print. Let's go back up to 0. And now let's pull a little yellow out of this image, because I feel that this image is mostly yellow. So if we take some yellow out of the yellow, let's see what happens. And, just really crank it to get an idea. And we don't want to make her look like she's, going to be cast in The Walking Dead. But we want to take just enough color out to make the image feel a little bit more sophisticated. You can put a little magenta into the yellow. And again, it's just going back and forth between all of the lines to create a good balance. And balance means just strong, rich tones that will hold. And by building a good base like this, you can create any kind of look that you want. You can really push the contrast. You can really push the color on it. You can, just really make your image look like whatever you want it to look like, really. But you still need to have those rich tones to start with. It's imperative.